Our recording. Okay. Can you see my screen? Excellent. Right. So, welcome to Spaven House. Meet the team. So, unfortunately, we couldn't get a picture of Miss Watkins, so you've only got the three of us. But there's myself, as you can see, with a slightly different haircut there. I'm the house progress leader, Mr. Hibbert. We've got Mrs. Backhouse, who's our house support manager. We've got our senior link, Miss Milovich, and we've got our house academic mentor, Miss Watkin. Now, there's lots of roles there, and we actually have acronyms for everything at secondary school. So my role is a HPL, and we've got Mrs. Backhouse, which is a HSM. So what does that actually mean? So my role as house progress leader is generally, as the title suggests, overall responsibility for your progress when you come up here to DHFS. So that's academic progress, achievement for all students in Spaven House. Now, that's not to say that I won't deal with other things like behavioural incidents or pastoral issues, but my main remit is progress. But we do generally, as a team, work as a team. We don't work really in isolation. So Mrs. Backhouse, as house support manager, she will be your go-to person for everything pastoral. So it might be things to do with attendance. There might be things to do with doctor's notes. It might be that you're not feeling well in the morning, so your parents' carers ring up school. It's Mrs. Backhouse who you will probably get in touch with, because I'm a teaching member of staff, whereas Mrs. Backhouse is full-time working for Spaven here at school, so she is on it. So any problems, any issues, she is the guru. We've got our house academic mentor, which is Miss Watkin. So she works generally from September till around Christmas time. She will predominantly be working with the older students here at DHFS. So that's our year 13 students who are going to be applying for either UCAS, so university, or further education, etc. So that's generally her remit for the first few months. So you as new year sixers might not have too much to do with Miss Watkin. You might see her in assemblies, etc. But after that, it might be that Miss Watkin works with you in small groups, working on anything to do with your life here at DHFS. We've got our 2 mentors per mentor group. So we obviously know you're in Spaven House, and you'll know what mentor group you're going into. So every morning, for 15 minutes every morning, there'll be 2 members of staff who will be in with you, who are your mentors, okay? So they will do things like uniform checks. They'll check that you've got everything equipment-wise for the day. They'll talk to you about your reports. They'll go through all sorts of things to do with SMSC. They'll check your attendance. So they are your go-to people day in, day out. And then Miss Milovich, as we showed on the previous slide, she's our senior link. So she oversees things as a house, and she's kind of our go-to person for any issues as well. So that's the team. That's our basic roles, but we do all generally work together. So obviously you're coming up from primary school or junior school. So the key differences, you probably know that we are quite a big secondary school. So getting towards that 2,000 students mark, some of you will be coming from probably quite small secondary schools. So it's going to be a huge difference that there's just generally that many more people in and around. Obviously add in the amount of teachers, support staff, general people that work here at DHFS, we're well over the 2,000 mark in terms of personnel. So it's a busy place. A major difference as well, obviously, you might have seen maps of the school. You might have people who you already know here at DHFS, that you move around from lesson to lesson, from class to class. So rather than sitting in the same classroom like you probably do at primary school, it's different here. You go around the school, which is quite a big site, obviously, for the amount of people we've got. So therefore, you need to be super organised to both know where you're going and organise your time and yourself. Now, we don't expect straight away that everybody is perfect and you know exactly where every room is, because it takes many years to master that. I came here as a student when I was your age, and I now am back here teaching, and I still don't know where every single classroom is. So don't worry if you feel a little bit anxious about the fact that it's a huge site with lots of blocks and lots of rooms. You will get used to it, okay? Obviously, every subject that you have will have a different specialist teacher as well. You will have, as we said, your 2 mentors, and we're really lucky in Spaven because for Monday to Friday, your mentor time each day, generally most mentor groups do have 2 members of staff in every single day. So we're really lucky, and we've got an exceptional group of mentors. And obviously the uniform, which Mrs. Davies spoke to you about previously. So just some of our expectations. Now, these will link in with what Mr. Cooper and Miss Davies talked about earlier, but obviously in terms of our house pride for Spaven, we do have really, really high expectations because you're representing DHFS, but you're representing Spaven House as well. So we've got our rewards and sanctions policy, which Mrs. Davies mentioned about. I don't like to dwell too much on this right-hand side here, which is the sanctions, but you will get to know very well our policy for a little bit like football. Yellow card means a warning, red card is a behaviour point, and behaviour points are things that we do not want to be getting. And then the escalation after that moves up to more serious events and things that we do not want to entertain. Okay, so we look on the left-hand side because we're coming here to make a really positive impact on the school and to make lots of progress and to enjoy yourself. So focus on the positives. So there'll be lots of verbal praise. You might have teachers at the minute that use stamps, etc. That does still happen here at secondary school. You might have your name written on the board for praise board. Phone calls home, postcards, achievement points. This is a really big one here, achievement points, because that will lead on to other things, such as badges for the amount of achievement points that you get, going into prize draws. So we've got recognition vouchers. Those are actual vouchers that you can spend in shops. So really quite exciting. And then we've got things like head teachers' lunches that would happen on a normal year, student of the house, student of the year. And again, all these are really prestigious awards to get, but there's also usually a little bit of money to win as well. So it's a win-win. Now, attendance, a really, really big one. Obviously, we've all had a slightly disjointed last year or so with COVID, but even so, in terms of our attendance, we have a target as a school of 96%. Okay, so that is your target. In terms of, like I mentioned, the role that Mrs. Backhouse has, if you know that on the morning that you're not feeling well and that you might not be able to get into school, then that's the person you would ring up school, they would put you through to Mrs. Backhouse and you would let us know. If there's other things such as we've got appointments, so medical appointments, some of those will obviously be unavoidable and they would have to be taken in school time. But obviously where possible, we try and organise, or you would try and organise them outside of school hours so we don't lose any learning time. Okay, so any evidence that you can also supply us for those appointments would obviously be really well received. Just on this right hand side here on this green, yellow and red chart here, actually when you break it down, 365 days in a year, 175 non-school days each year, what a phenomenal amount of time you and we have off from work and school each year. So that's all the more reason to make sure that where possible, any appointments are outside of school hours. So ideally, 190 days of education each year, no absences, 100%. And let me tell you, there's plenty of students in Spaven House each year that will nail that. They'll hit their 100%, and that is absolutely what we want. You'll go into the prize draws, which is brilliant. It's great, big pat on the back. But just think about what that does for your own progress, being there in lesson all of the time. As it says at the bottom, best chance of success. As we break it down and we move down that ladder there, as you can see, 29 days absence, 85%, such huge barriers, because that's ultimately learning time that will probably be lost. That's catch up that puts more pressure on you as a student to actually catch up on that learning. So if you can just try and get the basics right and get yourself here to school most of the time, all of the time, absolutely brilliant. Okay. In terms of punctuality, just as important. Yeah, getting yourself here in school is great, but you've got to make sure that you are on time where you need to be. Now, in the Year 6 chat that myself and Mrs. Backhouse did the other day, a couple of people brought up the question, oh, well, what if I'm late to a lesson in the first few days? Look, that is likely to happen, okay? Or you might get a little bit lost. We're not talking about punctuality in the first day or so, because you'll be walking around like you're reading a map, walking through the Peak District. What we're talking about is that day in, day out, your basics are in place so that you are in lesson when you should be. So as Mr. Cooper mentioned, the bell will go, that will signify the start and the end of the lessons, and it's your job to make sure you know where you need to be and you get there. Look at that, 5 minutes late, okay, over an academic year, each lesson, 3 days lost. It's enormous. So punctuality and attendance, absolutely vital. Next thing, homework, okay? As you know, you will get homework when you come up to DHFS. So why do we have it? Absolutely, to support the learning that you would do in class, okay? So to reinforce that learning, to add to that learning, really, really important that when you get set homework, that you complete it because it's there for a reason. It's not there just for the sake of it. Teachers will not set you homework that is just ticking a box, because we don't have a ticker box. That's not how we work, okay? The homework is there to support your learning, okay? Make sure that it gets you organised, promote the 3 R's that Mr. Cooper mentioned. So the 2 components, make sure you complete it, make sure you hand it in. Nothing more frustrating than a student who completes it, but then forgets to bring it in, okay? So again, basics. In terms of being successful at homework, we use a program here at school called SIMS, and this is something that you will get to know. Some of you might know about it from primary school. Both students and parents, carers will have access to SIMS, and you'll be able to have that access on your computer at home, but also really usefully on your smartphone and tablets. So that's a way that at home you can actually check what homework has been set, when the deadline is, explanation as to what the homework is all about. So that's a really, really useful tool, okay? You will also get a planner that you can write homework down in as well. So during the lesson, you could write down that you've got homework. So it's a belt and braces approach. You've got it in your planner written down, but you've also got it electronically so that you as a student can see it, but also your parents can see it. And that links in with what Mr. Cooper talked about in terms of home life and school working together. We advise where possible to try and set it the night that you get it, the day that you get it, in an ideal world. Now, obviously, we don't live in an ideal world. There might be circumstances where that can't happen. But generally, the sooner you get it done, the fresher it is in your mind from the lesson you've just had, more likelihood to be successful. And then we'd reflect on it. Is that the sort of homework standard that reflects your ability? And if it's not, of course, you're going to amend it and redo it. In terms of support, loads of support for homework. So we have homework club that runs before, during, after school. So facilities for you to actually go to here in school at dedicated times that you can do your homework. So if you know that you struggle to do it at home for whatever reason, then that takes away that potential barrier, okay? So let's hope that homework is not going to be in any way an issue, and what we'll look at homework as is something that really supports our learning. Okay, so as you know, you students are what we're here for, okay? But we as a group of staff at Dronfield Henry Financial School, as parents, carers and students, must work together, okay? And if we can work together and we get that sweet spot there in the middle, that's where real success will happen. One evening per year, you will get the opportunity, parents, carers, to discuss the progress of the students. So that's called Parents, Carers Consultation Evening. Now with COVID, we've moved these evenings to virtual evenings, really successfully using some online software. As we know that things are still up in the air in terms of what next academic year will look like. So we will communicate that to you as to whether it's going to be a virtual evening or whether it's going to be face-to-face. But those are really, really important evenings that you access to engage with, excuse me, your teachers, okay? So getting started, we're moving now towards that first week, which is coming up rapidly in a couple of weeks' time. Your weekly routines, some of the things that you will do on a weekly basis. Here is an example of a student timetable. Okay, we've got days of the week here, we've got times along the top. The sort of things that you will do every single morning during mentor time are, you'll have an assembly once a week that will be led by either myself or Miss Milovich or the house academic mentor, Miss Watkin, or other members of staff around school. So there'll be a weekly assembly. You'll have a day where you focus on SMSC, so different things happening around the world, things that are topical. We're introducing something next year called Votes for Schools, which is a really exciting platform for topical issues as well. You'll have days where you look at your attendance, where we check uniform, equipment, etc. So those are going to be some of the things that you'll do every morning before you start actual formal lessons. So that's 9 until 9:15. Okay. What our school day looks like, hour-long lessons. So starting period 1, 9:15 till 10:15. Then you get a 15-minute break. Period 2, period 3. Again, this is on a normal school year. You would have 2 lessons then after break time until lunch, and you get a whopping hour for lunchtime, which is fantastic. That obviously gives you time to have your lunch, but it also gives you time. So year 6 is really, really important that you take advantage of the many opportunities that will be given to you during both lunchtime, before school and after school, in terms of extracurricular activities. So that's going to be a really good way for you to meet people, whether that's through drama or music or sport or chess or whatever it might be. Loads of opportunities to do things in that massive hour break. Okay, period 4 and 5, 2-hour lessons, home time 3:30, happy days. You'll get your timetable. Again, it'll look something like this. You'll have a class code, it'll have an abbreviation of the subject, teacher's initials, and the room. Okay, sooner you memorize that, the better. But the more you look at it and the more you do it, it'll just become second nature to you. Okay. Induction week. So what are we, 2 weeks away from that? You might have already been told this when you've had other presentations, but we'd really like you to come that week, obviously with an open mind, positive attitude, and making sure that you look the part. So some sort of white t-shirt, white polo shirt, or a white formal shirt. So we want you as year 6ers to all look the same, but you're not going to have your Dronfield Henry Fanshawe uniform by then. So we want you to all look the same as year 6ers. So not to come up in your school uniform from primary or junior school. So that's quite important that we can try and hit that. Sensible trousers, equipment, basic equipment that you would need for school, and some sensible footwear. Okay. Obviously a bag to carry stuff around. Most of you, that would be pretty obvious. You'll receive a timetable, planner, green pen, and crucially, wear it with pride, as I do on my lanyard, the house badge, and it'll have a nice big S on it for Spaven. A bit more information about this at the back end of this presentation. So when you submit your online paperwork, you'll receive a parent pay login. I'm sure some of you will be well versed with parent pay. So that's the system that we use. Therefore, we'd look like for you to register and put some money onto that card. I've just put together for the last couple of slides just a bit of communication, so some of the basics. So you've probably heard a lot of information this evening, and hopefully you've got lots of questions, but if you don't, that's fine. Everything that you would need to know can be found on our wonderful school website. So follow the tabs there, parents, let us home, year 6 transition, and everything can be found on there. You might have questions such as, who do I actually contact here at school? So as we've kind of mentioned, my role is kind of academic, progress, subjects, sort of stuff, pastoral, Mrs. Backhouse. General concerns can come to your mentor, or if it's something really specific to one subject, then that could be teacher. But I would imagine in the start of your tenure here at Dronfield Henry Fanshawe, teachers, it probably won't go straight to them. It'll probably be more to the house team or your mentors when you find them out. Okay. As we mentioned, best way to keep up to date with things, the Sims app. It's absolutely superb. It really is. It's got everything on there. It'll tell you your attendance, your achievement points, your behaviour points. It's got your timetable, what homework's set, important messages. It's really, really good. So making sure that you log into that when you get the information for it. Keeping us informed. So let school know if there's any sort of changes of email address, changes of home address, changes of phone numbers, the sort of basic stuff that you would need to know as a school. Please let us know about that. Being up to date with the website, because lots of information is on the website. And also, if you're a Twitter user, any critical messages will always go through our Twitter feed. And also what you'll find is that every individual faculty, so I'm a PE teacher, so PE will have their own Twitter feed where we post stuff about PE. the achievements of the school teams, etc. But so will the maths faculty, the English, every other faculty will have a Twitter feed. So if you're not on Twitter and it's something that you may be considering, it's a really useful tool to keep abreast of what's going on here at Dronfield Henry Fanshawe. So you've got lots of mechanisms there to keep up to speed with what's happening here. Things, as we mentioned, parents, carers, consultation evenings. So as we said, we don't know yet whether it's going to be face-to-face or virtual, but when the time comes for that, you'll be told about it in advance so you can start to free yourself up and make bookings. VSPR is again another acronym for you, is a verbal student progress report. So as well as you having one parents carers consultation evening each year, you'll have one verbal student progress report where your mentor will call home and discuss your progress, how things are going, whether there's any further support that we can give you. So again, that will happen once a year, and then you'll also get actual printed reports from your teachers at several times throughout the year, which will show how you're progressing. Okay. Next thing, final thing from me before I open it up to the floor. Just make sure that the sort of forms that you would normally get given to you by hand on an evening like this, if we were in non-COVID times, all those forms can be found on the school website, okay? And it's under this tab, Admission Form 2021. So onto the school website, Year 6 into 7 transition, and then that little link there is the one that you need to go on to get all the basic forms completed and then returned to us, okay? So, any questions? I'll come out of my PowerPoint. You can see me. Are there any questions whatsoever? If so, please just put your virtual hand up. Right. What have we got? Miss, are you?
Yeah, we're on.
Yeah. Lovely. The questions in the chat, Miss Milovic is obviously answering now, to do with trousers and planners. Has anybody got any questions for me in particular about anything I've said?
She's got big teeth.
Yeah, Pamela Roberts, would you like to fire away?
Hi, yeah, sorry, I didn't understand when you mentioned about for the induction week, the dinner money.
Right, okay. I'm just going to lean on Michelle.
So we advise that you put £15 in the parent pay when you've logged in, and that should be enough money for that week for their food. If they're wanting to bring in packed lunch, obviously that's not a problem, but if they're going to have school dinners, we advise that it's about £15 a week.
Thank you. It's just actually I don't know how to put the money on there.
Oh, right. So once at the end, you'll get your registration for parent pay.
Oh,
and
so
you
we
register
haven't.
on there and you pay on there. Any payments for school, we're a cashless school, so any payments goes through that for trips or anything. So once you've logged in, you'll see that it says dinner money, and then you just log into there and pay for it by card.
And where do we get to log in? When do we get the registration details?
Once you've, is it at the end of the?
I imagine it'll be coming to you very soon.
Very soon. They'll be sorting everybody's registration out. But, you know, don't panic on rollover week. If you haven't been given it, your child will not go without food.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Lovely. Any more questions at all? Please feel free to pop your hand up. Well, ask them to do it. Lovely. Right. If there's no more questions, then I guess all that's left to say is massively looking forward to you all coming up. It's only a couple of weeks away now, so enjoy your last couple of weeks at your current school. And yeah, you'll never be forgotten there, but we cannot wait for you to come up here to Dronfield Henry Fanshawe. You're joining a brilliant school. Mr. Cooper was not lying. It's an absolutely outstanding school. Looking forward to having you. So if you've got a camera, if you have turned it off, just turn it on so I can see as many faces as possible. Hello, Matt. Hello, Vicky. Brilliant. So as you can see, as more and more people are coming online now, hopefully you'll be able to see. We can certainly see a lot of you anyway. Brilliant. Okay. Right. Hello, Josh. Hello, Bryony. Hello, Sally Ann. Hello, James, Jenny. Wow, look at you. In 2 weeks' time, you're going to be Tromfield Henry Fanshawe and a Spaven bear as well. Really looking forward to having you here. So take care. Big wave from us. If you could wave back, that'd be lovely. Yes, there we go. Interaction. Love it. Right. Thanks, everyone. If anybody wants to stay on the call to ask any questions that you didn't want to ask before, that's fine. But otherwise, you're welcome to log off now and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.